Eye pokes are among some of the worst fouls in MMA, and they're all too common.
Oh no. Oh man. Oh, bad eye poke.
One poke can drastically change the course of the fight, and sometimes be the only difference between a win and a loss. Earlier this year, the unified rules of MMA were revised, and one of the more notable changes was making it a foul to extend your fingers toward your opponent's face. This was to deter the frequency of eye pokes.
Fingers closed, Thiago.
2 warnings from Todd Anderson for Thiago Alves to close those fingers. That is now a foul.
This is a list of fights where a poke had a significant impact on the fight or the fighter's health. These are some of the worst eye pokes in MMA. John Jones is widely regarded as the king of the light heavyweight division, as well as the king of eye pokes.
Oh yeah, right in there, man.
Jones has worked for years perfecting his eye poking game and has honed it down to an exact science. John Coke Dick Jones has poked his opponent in the eye in almost all of his UFC fights, including Alexander Gustafsson.
Hold on, he got poked.
Quinton Jackson, Glover Teixeira, Daniel
视频前的你，如果在男性持久力、勃起硬度等方面不满意，现在就加郭老师微信358-163-379，让郭老师帮助你持久坚挺，延时20到40分钟，补肾壮阳，延时助勃，增强夫妻性生活，28天彻底告别快男软男，做回自信的自己。记住微信358-163-379。
Belcher immediately collapsed to the mat in pain. The fight was stopped, and since most of the bout had already been completed, it was taken to the judges for a decision, with Bisping being declared the winner.
For the winner by technical decision, Michael the Count Bisping.
Belcher required 8 stitches to his eyelid and hasn't fought since. But Bisping is versatile and has taken a lot of damage to his eyes as well, having had at least 5 surgeries on his right eye to repair damage, including a detached retina.
As I was driving home, it just got worse and worse, and when I got home, I was pretty much blind in my right eye.
While not an eye poke, Vitor Belfort caused a significant amount of damage to Bisping's eye with a kick at UFC on FX. As Bisping stated, Vitor Belfort head kicked me, and that's what caused my detached retina. Since then, I've had 5 surgeries, and my eye is never going to look the same again. That was one of the reasons why I said I was never fighting anybody else with a steroid history. Vitor, who was practically lactating testosterone at the time, caused Bisping to suffer a detached retina and required surgery to repair the eye. Anthony Rumble Johnson's name has become synonymous with eye pokes in his 28-fight career. Johnson suffered his first major eye injury by the fingers of Kevin Burns at UFC Fight Night in 2008.
Anthony Johnson is in a lot of pain.
That was like a finger went right in his eye.
Burns, who claimed his hand was broken, wasn't able to close his hands all the way while throwing punches, leading him to poke Johnson in the eye several times during the fight.
He might have got poked in the eye, but now he seems to be fine. Might have got poked in the eye there. Got caught in the eye, I guess, again. Mazzagatti warns Burns to watch the fingers.
Referee Steve Mazzagatti warned Burns multiple times to keep his fingers out of his opponent's eyes, but Burns continued to poke and prod Johnson until midway through the 3rd round, when Burns landed the most devastating poke of the fight.
Oh my goodness! This fight, they're stopping the fight.
Steve Mazzagatti, being Steve Mazzagatti, called off the fight, but instead of disqualifying Burns for the illegal eye poke, declared him the winner via TKO, despite the replay clearly showing the illegal poke.
Clearly, Kevin Burns poked Anthony Johnson in the eye. You see him react to it.
Johnson appealed the decision in an attempt to have the loss removed from his record, but the Nevada Athletic Commission rejected the appeal due to lack of remedy. Johnson has been poked many times throughout his career, including once by Josh Koscheck.
Poke right to the eye, man.
And another time by DJ Linderman, which only seemed to anger him.
And he took an inverted shot in the eye. Oh, damn! Oh, man, that is it!
Travis Brown defeated former UFC fighter Matt Mitrione during a UFC Fight Night bout in 2016, but not without its fair share of due controversy.
He's got an advantage with his height and length. Oh, poked the eye. Oh, no. That was a bad act. That was a bad one.
Brown, known primarily for dating Ronda Rousey and a 2015 domestic violence claim, won the fight via TKO in the 3rd round. Throughout the fight, Brown landed 2 eye pokes, one one in the first round, then another in the second, and possibly another in the third if he had more time to work. The pokes conveniently came after Brown was being hit with hard punches from Mitrione. Both pokes got Brown out of a dangerous situation, and the ref even allowed Brown to continue attacking Matt even after the second eye poke.
Mitrione tagged him again. Oh no, another poke. The battle continues right here. Referee Gary Foreman right on top of it. Look at the right eye. Look at the way he's wincing, closing his right eye.
After having his eye hole fingered multiple times, Mitrione's vision in his right eye was somewhat compromised, and Brown took full advantage of that fact, attacking Mitrione on the right side, aka his blind spot. Brown landed a right hand to Matt's right eye, causing some of the most disturbing swelling ever seen inside the octagon.
Look at the eye of Matt Mitrione. Boy, it is so swollen now.
Controversy arose when referee Gary Foreman did commission over the incident. The appeal was promptly denied. Brown also poked Fabricio Verdum in the eye at UFC 203, but wasn't deducted a point for it. Uriah Faber has shoved his fingers where they don't belong at least 2 times in the last few years.
I mean, he just poked him in the eyes.
The recently retired Faber was down on the scorecards against Francisco Rivera at UFC 181, until a helpful poke to the eye stunned Rivera long enough for him to get the submission victory.
Oh, he tagged him though. He hurt him. Francisco's hurt.
Faber looking to finish this fight. It
That's
is all over!
Referee Mario Yamasaki didn't notice the poke, and Faber took full advantage, submitting his opponent via a bulldog choke.
Here it is, right there. Oh my goodness. Without a doubt, right in the eye.
Rivera suffered a crack in his retina and required surgery to repair it. Rivera also filed an appeal with the Nevada Athletic Commission in hopes of overturning the loss. The appeal was denied. Faber has made a habit of poking people named Rivera, as he also poked Jimmy Rivera in the eye hole as well.
I mean, he just poked him in the eyes.
The poke came midway through the third round at UFC 203.